Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Autogefuel. Today with me AJ and Jonas. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a close look at the new Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600. Let's take a look at the front, and isn't it imposing? First thing you'll notice is, of course, the Maybach grille, which has these very long vertical slats. They taper towards the bottom. At the top, it's almost like an oar shape. Of course, it's a little bit plasticky, but it has to be. I mean, it has to meet pedestrian regulations for crash norms. If this was actually chrome and steel and metal, or, it would probably shred the person it crashed into. But nevertheless, it looks really regal, almost like the Parthenon or the Pantheon. And how great is it to finally see the hood ornament back on a Mercedes SUV? The GLS 600 is 2.1 meters wide, 5.2 meters long, and it weighs about 2.7 tons. I mean, this Maybach version, you get actually the Maybach wheels. Right now we do have the winter tires and the winter wheels here. They're still 22 inches. They still look really big and they fill the wheel arches really well. But the special wheels kind of mimic the design that we saw in the front grille. So these spokes will also have that oar-shaped design. But I think this looks really good. I mean, everything about this SUV is about opulence and extravagance. And we can start with the paint job. I mean, I think it's a beautiful dual-tone paint, but just the paint costs an extra 21,000 euros. That white Napa leather interior, 16,000 euros. And these are individually more expensive than my car. Here at the back, it's a very tall vertical tailgate. Of course, this has the air suspension. You can lower this to make it easier to load items, but as it stands, it's a very tall stance. I do like the rear lights, again LED, with this nice detailing on the inside. Let's take a look under the hood to see what powers this behemoth. The GLS 600 Maybach gets a unique tune of the 4-liter bi-turbo V8 petrol engine, which makes 558 PS or metric horsepower and 713 newton meters of torque. It's mated to a 9G-tronic Autobox and a 4-wheel drive system, the 4MATIC, which can split power between the axles in a complete 0 or 100%. This also comes with a 48-volt EQ boost, which is a starter-alternator electric hybrid system, to fill in the gaps and add a little bit of extra torque. It can therefore do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.9 seconds and a Vmax of 250 kilometers per hour, even though it weighs 2.7 tons. Don't expect it to be frugal though, at least it's going to consume 10 liters per 100 kilometers. The seats have that brown piping. They also are perforated. So again, because of the ventilation, it really helps. Really soft and plush. Thick carpets as well. And if we look near the foot pedals, we also have the metal Maybach logos on the pedals. Getting inside is really easy. Again, thanks to this floorboard, you just ever so gracefully step into your yacht. And yeah, immediately you feel like you own the world. At least that's how I feel. And honestly, of course, the S-Class Maybach or the Maybach Pullman, based on the S-Class, that long limousine, are probably more conventionally considered luxury. But this taller seating position, I think, also very, very well complements the luxury, ultra-luxury segment. So, case in point here with this GLS 600. But again, most of this is very similar to the GLS 600. You get the dual screens for your instrumentation as well as the touchscreen, also controlled with a touchpad. Let's take a look at the steering wheel. Like I mentioned, this comes with the optional wood on the steering wheel, which I think is so nice. Of course, it's a bit smooth and glossy and not necessarily very grippy, but this is not a sports car. So I think it looks really regal. You have a lot of controls on the left-hand side to change settings on the virtual instruments as well as the head-up display. And on the right-hand side, you have controls for the main screen and your volume and phone. Also, this car comes with a lot of advanced driver assistance systems, which also you can control on the steering wheel itself. The main instruments are also highly configurable. First of all, you can change the entire look and feel of this by using the Styles and Displays menu. And of course, you have things like Sport, Progressive, but I think you really just want to keep it in the Classic, which is what really reflects and highlights this Maybach style. So let's keep it back there. But even within this menu, you still have options like, for example, in the middle, if you want to see consumption or you want to see other displays like the time or the speed. A very large touchscreen in the middle, but of course, if you don't want to use it as a touchscreen, there's a really nice trackpad in the bottom. You have options to connect your phone. The navigation is also really easy to understand. It's fairly slick and fast. There's radio, and of course, you can set up the different type of massage that you want. And you also have a lot of nice ambient lighting, which you can select here as well. For the color and the brightness as well can be changed. In true Mercedes fashion, we have the vents located right here. In this case, they're 4. They're very quadrangular. Further down, always I love to see physical buttons and toggles and switches for the climate menu, which is really easy to use. A large tambour door, which slides away with this really nice knurled finish metallic latch to reveal an inductive phone charging port, a couple USB-C ports, a versatile adaptive cup holder, which can be cooled or heated to keep either your coffee warm or your drink cold. Oh boy, now I'm super excited to check this out. Of course, the minute you open the back door, even the floorboards extend, and it's a very inviting large entrance. And that's also because, yes, this is the same GLS platform, but the GLS, let's remember, is also a 3-row configuration. So instead of having 3 rows, they have moved the second row further back, and now you have just these 2 business class, kind of first class lounge seating here. So there's a lot more space between the front row and the second row, or the front and the back seats in this case, because there is no third row. Again, plenty of sound deadening everywhere. Anyway, enough chit-chat. Let's get inside. Wow. I'm going to move this pillow ever so slightly, ever so carefully over there so I can get more comfortable here. Large resounding thud as the door closes. I'm completely cocooned right now. I can, of course, lower these blinds. I can also, of course, open this large panoramic sunroof to let in a lot of light. This light-colored roof liner, it is in leather, unfortunately, which is not very eco-friendly. But this color, at least, brings so much more airiness into the cabin. Even the top here and along the speakers here, there's more ambient lighting. The ambient lighting is also here on the front seat, along the side of the doors, and even around me, around the back here. So it's really cocooning me. When they say ambient lighting, it is very ambient because it's everywhere. But check this out. There's a button here. I press it once. The front seat moves away. My seat gets reclined. The footrest raises. I don't want to dirty these 16,000 euro seats, so I'm going to keep my shoes away from them. But it goes up, and now I definitely feel like I own the world. There is no doubt in my mind at this moment. Again, I can retract everything back with a simple push of this button over here. The poor passenger over there, probably squished, but who cares? A lot of useful features here as well. Of course, you can see there's a large tablet. I can push this button because, of course, why would you lift a tablet? I mean, you know, there's a button here to lift it for you. Then you can use this. This controls a lot of things here in the back seat. For example, the climate control, because I'm too lazy to reach down there to change the climate. This obviously has 4 zones, so each passenger gets their own completely independent air conditioning climate zone. There's a lot of other things I can set, like, for example, the navigation itself, or change the menus. Of course, I have 2 large screens here as well, touchscreens as well to watch media. And down here, I have a inductive phone charging port. I have a couple USB-C ports on either side. If I move this door away, there's a couple beverage holders. Also, special holders here for the champagne flutes, which come with this car, which you can, they will be clamped down here automatically. And then, of course, with a simple push, that door closes itself. Down here, there are 2 very gorgeous, well-engineered, well-machined trays with anti-slip grip material, also rubber along the edges to make sure that your laptop doesn't slide away. But just look at the quality of this metal, probably aluminium it feels like. Everything is damped and then it clicks. You know, there's a nice click between these different stages, and then it gets tucked away. More storage, a 230 volt power outlet as well, which is useful. And, of course, let's not forget, I own the world now. So every now and then I want to have some champagne to celebrate. So you can open this down. There would be 2 champagne flutes over here, and you have your own refrigerator back there to keep, you know, the best bottle, the most expensive bottle of champagne. Of course, you can even choose how much you want it to be cool. There's so many settings. But the funny thing, which, you know, I gotta hand it to them, is if you look down here, there are ISOFIX points. So yes, you can put child seats in both of these seats here. All right, let's start off our drive here on the Autobahn. The first thing I notice is the lack of any sensation. It's really like a sensory deprivation tank in here. I hear nothing from the outside. Double glazing, the immense amount of sound deadening, it just disconnects you completely from the outside world. Even this big engine is barely audible. It's barely ticking over at just over 1,000 RPM, just wafting along effortlessly. That suspension is also doing a phenomenal job. Again, it's scanning the road up ahead in the front. I have it, of course, in the Maybach mode. So what it's doing is it's trying to optimize the suspension and the height itself preemptively before I come to that part of the surface of the road to maintain a completely steady and stable ride here for the cabin. And it's really disconcerting because I don't feel anything of what's happening on the road. It's completely a disconnect. But I guess this is as close to floating as you'll ever get in a car. The steering is also very vague in this kind of mode, but again, this is not supposed to be sporty. It's just giving you a very gentle feedback of what the tires are doing. But again, it's just incredibly quiet. You also have a lot of advanced driver assistance systems. You have active lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, traffic sign recognition, and they all work in conjunction to really give you a semi-autonomous kind of a driving experience. You also have something called pre-safe, wherein the car will sense if you're about to have a collision or an accident, which is completely unavoidable, and will, again, preemptively tighten the seat belts. If you're lying down, in the recline position in the rear seat, it has special airbags that it will pre-deploy, and basically it just kind of, like the word says, pre-safe. It senses if you're about to have a collision and prepares for that. I also really like the navigation because you have the augmented reality here on the screen, so it shows you the turns that are coming up, displayed directly onto your the screen here, so you can kind of make very quick decisions and know exactly which road that you have to turn into. Small things as well, small details that I like. Even though it's an option, I do love the double blinders, the visors here. So you have one on the top, which can also extend, and you have another one to put up into the front. So again, attention to detail is very important in this class of car. Now we're going around some gentle curves here on a winding country road. The steering does provide weight. It feels quite artificial, but it's just there to kind of tell you how much load each tire is on. In the Maybach mode, the throttle response is definitely dulled. Again, not because of economy purposes, but to make it very comfortable. In fact, it will even set off in second gear so that you don't feel that shift from first to second, which is quite a prominent shift in most cars and most transmissions. So you don't feel that kind of nod from that shift. So it just starts off in second gear. So it's a very, very smart system. And I think, again, it's the best suited for the personality of the GLS 600 Maybach. But 558 horsepower is definitely a lot. But more than performance, it's about effortless cruising. So you put your foot down. It's a very gradual acceleration. Of course, there is a sport mode. There's even an off-road mode. But even under braking, like right now, brake pedal feel it's a little bit numb, but it gives you confidence. But what kind of is, again, takes a little bit of getting used to is how the body just stays so level. Another thing I notice is because of how tall the sides of this SUV are, the cars that are passing, I can feel the wind that they're pushing onto this large surface a little bit more prominently. But visibility is really great. This tall seating position, again, I think really suits this ultra luxury segment quite well. I have a great view out forward with this large windshield. That head-up display is also fantastic. I really like the Mercedes head-up display. They're very vivid. The colors are bright. It's very easy to read, and it's actually quite large. It spans a large expanse on your windshield, so it's very easy to see. The numbers are big. You don't have to squint, and you have large windows on the side. Of course, you have a 360-degree parking camera, so parking is really easy. We're in a narrow little city village here, rather, and it doesn't feel too big. That being said, though, this does not have rear axle steering, which is not, in the beginning I was a little bit concerned, especially considering the expensive wheels, the expensive paint job, just the overall expense. Damaging something in narrow villages like this would have been quite disastrous. But to be honest, the front wheels turn, the steering angle is really significant, as is the case with most Mercedes cars. So it doesn't really, I'm not really missing that rear axle steering at the moment. You have to be careful in park garages because of course you can't swing the back around. But otherwise, it just is so effortless. Let's summarize today's episode of the Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600. Prices start at around 180,000 euros, but as we talked about, once you start adding options, you're easily looking at numbers on around 250,000 euros. That's quite a lot of money, but it still does undercut some of its competitors, especially the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. So, at the end of today's drive, we were getting numbers around 18.5 liters for 100 kilometers, which is of course a lot. But if you're buying this SUV, I don't think you really care about that. There's a lot to love with the new Maybach. I like the interior. The back seat is where the Maybach really comes to life in this GLS platform. Ultimately, if you have this kind of money and you want this ultra luxury SUV, you don't really have to stretch for the Rolls-Royce. This does almost everything that you would require, and it looks fantastic too. Let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.